Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, then my name is Divya and this channel is all about dentistry, lifestyle, productivity and more such fun content. If you like this video, if you like me and you want more of it, then please do subscribe to this channel. Today's video is going to be everything about your first year BDS, that is the subject, the practical quota, the exam pattern, the books to refer and the instruments that you'll need. It's going to be a long video, so grab a cup of coffee, a pen and paper and let's get started. So now let's talk about the different subjects and the practical quota. Subjects, you have 4 theory subjects for which you will be required to give an university exam and 2 practical subjects in which you will get familiarized with the different type of dental materials and the basic procedures involved in dentistry. Coming to the 4 theory subjects, your first being your general human anatomy including embryology and histology. In this you will be learning about the skeletal structure of a human body, that is the different type of bones, the number of bones and so on. In embryology, you will be learning about the prenatal development. That is, you will study about how fertilization occurs, from there how is an embryo formed, how is a fetus formed and everything that happens before birth of a child. In histology, you will be learning about tissues, of the functions, the formation and everything about tissues. This happens to be a counterpart of your gross anatomy, something that you cannot see and has to be studied under a microscope. Second is your general human physiology. In general human physiology, you will be learning about how a human body functions. What is the chemistry and physics behind each function of an organ? So this will help you understand about the basic happening in a healthy human body. Third is your biochemistry, nutrition and dietetics. In this you will be learning about each chemical process and each vital process that keeps a man living. For example, how an ATP is produced, what are the different type of cycles that occur in the body. Basically all the chemical processes that are occurring in the body, you will be studying about that in biochemistry. Nutrition and dietetics aspect of it is obviously related to the nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, everything that a body needs and how it is synthesized and so on. Fourth is your dental anatomy, histology and embryology. In this, it is just like human anatomy, but this is all about your tooth. In dental anatomy, you will be learning about the morphology of the tooth, that is the structure of the tooth, the different type of walls and the different type of curvatures, the line angles, point angles and so on. In the embryology aspect, you will be learning about how a tooth forms in the prenatal stage. And histology, of course, is learning about the tissues of the oral cavity and tooth. Now coming to the 2 practical subjects that you will be having. First is your dental materials and second is preclinical prosthodontics and crown and bridge. In dental materials, you will be learning about the different type of materials that are used in dentistry. You will be learning about their physical, chemical and biological properties and of course how to handle them. Second is your preclinical prosthodontics and crown and bridge, in which you will be learning all about prosthesis. This will either deal with a missing tooth or a lot of missing tooth or entire set of teeth being missing. You have to understand that prosthesis is basically replacing of a missing part of the body and prosthodontics plays a huge role in that. Also remember to pay good attention to this subject because this is one such subject that will follow you until your 4th year. That is, you will be learning a part of PCP in every year of your dental school. Now let's talk about the practical quota. In practical quota, under human anatomy, it will be divided into 4 types. First is your osteology, embryology, histology and gross anatomy. In osteology, you will need a skull. Either you can buy it or you just borrow it from your seniors. But having a skull is very important to understand this particular part of anatomy. So in this you will be reading about the different type of foramens, the different type of bones and how those bones are joined together, what are the important structures of the skull and so on. So I would recommend to pay very good attention to this particular subject because this will be your basis, your foundation for your 4th year subject called as oral and maxillofacial surgery. So make sure that you retain your skull through the 4 years, because if you are going to pursue your MDS in oral and maxillofacial surgery, you do need a skull. Second is your embryology. Embryology, as I said, it's about prenatal development. So this is going to be, you will be working with models or charts. So you will have to identify the important structures on the modular chart and then write about their functions or something related to it. For example, if there is a model on brachial arches, then you will be required to tell what are the important structures formed from each arch. In histology, you will be studying about microanatomy. As I said, it's a counterpart of your gross anatomy. So this is the anatomy of the tissues which cannot be seen through naked eyes. So you will be performing these experiments under the microscope. Usually what they do is they have prepared slides which they slide under the microscope, and we are required to identify the structures and tell the functions of each structure. Fourth is your gross anatomy. So gross anatomy is where you will be working with cadavers. I do get this comment a lot asking if we get a chance to, study the cadavers or dissect or anything like that. So as per my knowledge, BDS students are not given the chance to dissect a cadaver. But what we have to do is have discussions on the dissected specimens. We will be taught the different type of layers of skin, the underlying structures and the course of path, and we are needed to identify the important structures. Now coming to physiology. So physiology has two types. One is your major practicals and the second being minor practicals. Under major practicals you have four types, that is first being your RBC count, WBC count, differential count and BP recording. The first three are performed under the microscope, whereas your BP recording is done using a BP machine. Here my tip for you guys will be is you see those lancets which you get with glucometers. If you have elders or anyone who have diabetes and they have a glucometer set at home to check their sugar, you will see an automated lancet in which you can adjust the degree of piercing, and you just have to press it and press the button. It'll, based on the degree that you have given, it will pierce and the blood will come out. I would suggest have something like that, because the colleges, the lancets which they provide, they are very painful, and manually pricking yourself is also like, it's a little, tough. So coming to BP recording, you will be given a patient, like mostly it's going to be your friends in this case, and they'll teach you how to record the BP, and you'll have to record it, and you have to explain about the diastolic count, the systolic count and so on. Now coming to your minor practicals. Your minor practicals will basically be determination of blood groups, bleeding time, clotting time calculation, and it's going to be about hemoglobin estimation, and then calculating hemoglobin indices like mean corpuscular volume or MCH or MCHC. So it's just going to be this minor stuff. So why it's called as major and minor practicals is because of the marks that are given to each category. So now let's talk about biochemistry practicals. You will have two types of analysis to do. One is your quantitative analysis and the other being qualitative analysis. In quantitative analysis, it's more of measuring something. For example, estimation of blood glucose levels, or calculation of creatinine in urine, or the titrable acidity levels and so on. In qualitative analysis, it's basically identification of carbohydrates, identification of protein, urine analysis, and then color reactions and so on. Again, these two will carry different marks. And along with this, there will be something called as chart interpretation, where there will be certain data given on a chart, and there will be certain questions, and you have to answer those questions interpreting the values that are given in the chart. Now let's move on to dental anatomy and histology. In dental anatomy and histology, again, this will be divided into two types. One is your carving and one is your slides. In carving, you will be physically carving each tooth on a wax block. You will be carving two sets. One is your deciduous teeth set and the other being permanent teeth set. So as you carve, so you will be using a carver and you will carve out each tooth on a wax block. So as you keep carving, you will understand more about the measurement of each tooth, the type of walls they have, the root structure and so on. Be very careful to preserve all the tooths that you carve, because at the end of the year, you will be needed to stick these tooth onto a wax block and submit it in a plastic box to the college as part of your practicals. So make sure that you keep them safely and please don't break them. Coming on to the histology aspect of DADH. Histology aspect, again, you will have two types of slides. One is your ground slides and the other is histological slides. So in this, again, you have to identify the structures under the microscope and then write few points on them. Next, you will be having models for identification. As I said, embryology is prenatal, so it has to be studied over charts and models. So that interpretation will also be here in DADH with regarding the tooth. Next, we have your casts for identification. So different type of casts with different abnormalities, like cleft palate can be kept. So you have to identify the cast and then write down few points related to it. Next, you will have tooth abnormalities, and you will be required to identify what abnormality that is. For example, dilaceration or concrescence or Talon's cusp or whatever it is, you have to identify what the abnormality is and then write few points about it. Now coming to the practical subjects, in your dental materials there will be two type of materials that you will be dealing with. First is your impression materials and second is gypsum products. So in impression materials you will learn the manipulation, that is how to mix it before it sets, and you will also be understanding the setting time, the working time and all of that. After that, you will learn how to make an impression out of it, like how to pour the material and how to take impression, and all that will be taught. The second is your gypsum products. Now gypsum products is basically the one that you will be dealing with in first year is plaster of Paris. So you will learn about the properties of the material by making different shapes out of it. So we had to make a square, rectangle, circle and all of that. So we had to make those shapes and also polish and finish it. So as you do this, you will understand more and more about how the material works. Now let's come to preclinical prosthodontics and crown and bridge. In first year, you will be learning how to make special trays, how to make temporary or permanent denture bases and preparation of occlusal rims. In second year, you will be learning how to articulate it on an articulator, how to set the teeth and how to check the occlusion and all of that. In third year, as you enter practicals, you will learn how to articulate it in the mouth, how to set it and how to process a complete denture base. Each exam is of 200 marks. The breakdown is as follows. 10% of your internal assessments will be calculated. This will be either calculating the 2 top marks or taking an average of the 3 exams conducted. Your theory paper will be of 70 marks, theory viva of 10 marks, practical exam will be of 90 marks and the practical viva will be of 10 marks. You have to know that 50% passing marks in both theory and practical is individually required. So now coming to anatomy, this table will give you a rough idea about what are the topics from which you can expect a 10 marker and what are the topics that you can expect your 5 and 2 markers from. Please keep in mind that if this table is thoroughly followed, you can get about 75% to 80% marks. The rest 20-25% will be bouncers and you have to expand your knowledge and study more in order to get distinction. So coming to your anatomy practicals, it will be divided into gross anatomy and histology. Gross anatomy will have 3 parts, that is spotters, discussion on dissected specimen and discussion of surface anatomy. Histology will be divided into 2 parts, first being your slide identification and second being discussion on a given slide. That is, there will be questions asked about the slide given to you and you are required to answer them. Theory viva and practical viva will be 10 marks each. Coming to your physiology practicals, this will be divided into major and minor experiments. Major experiments are the ones given here bearing more marks, that is 30 marks. Minor experiments, as explained earlier, these are the ones and this will be bearing 15 marks. Viva OC will be divided into theory and practical and this will be 5 marks each. Now coming to biochemistry practicals, this will be divided into 3 parts. First is your quantitative analysis which will be for 20 marks and these are the topics. Any one of this can come for you to perform. Qualitative analysis will be for 15 marks and these are the topics that you can expect. The last being chart interpretation will be for 10 marks. In this, they will give you a chart and you have to interpret the values and answer the questions given below. And again, your Viva OC here will be for 5 marks each. Coming to the last subject, this will be divided into two parts, carving and spotters. Carving, it will be for 1.5 hours, and most commonly asked are these tooths to be carved. Out of this, central incisors are frequently asked. Theory and practical viva will be 10 marks each. So now let's talk about how to study anatomy. I have 4 points to help you out with this. First is to make your own notes. By this, I just mean have a piece of information written in a way that you understand better. Here itself, you win half the battle. I know a lot of you have been requesting me to make a video on how I make notes. Bear with me, the video is coming up. Second is to have mnemonics for various topics. Mnemonics are the key to success when it comes to anatomy. I know it can be very overwhelming with the amount of information that you have to retain, the different type of structures that are passing through foramens and so on. To help you out with that, I've already made a video called Online Resources to Study BDS. Make sure you check out that video, link in the description box and here. And I'm sure you'll love the websites and channels that I've mentioned which can help you out with mnemonics. The third point is to draw flowcharts and diagrams wherever possible. If it is a simple topic like the different type of the course of an artery, that is from where it originates to where it terminates. If you draw this whole procedure, the whole topic in a flow chart, you will retain the information better, and at the same time it becomes very easy for you to produce this information on an examination paper. So make sure you do that. And diagrams, the book that I'm going to refer, just have a look at that book. You will find such easy diagrams to reproduce. So as you're studying, you can study anatomy just by drawing diagrams, most of it. So make sure that you study by drawing diagrams. The fourth point that I have for you is to make everything into points. For example, if you have a paragraph and you're trying to understand it, it gets like there are few topics which gets very difficult to understand. But when you break it down and you write it in points, it makes even the toughest of a topic very easily understandable. So next time when you're studying, just write points as you read the paragraph. I'm sure it will help you. So now let's come to human physiology. Here, human physiology and biochemistry are two different vast subjects, but the examination for both is the same. That is, one paper is divided into two sections, having physiology for 35 marks and biochemistry for 35 marks. So what I would suggest here is, because both the subjects are really huge and vast, I would recommend you guys to pay more attention to one particular subject just before your exam. I am not saying that neglect one subject and read the other one well, but before your examination, the night before or the day before, make sure you revise everything related to one subject, whichever is your stronger one of the two. Revise it well. Make sure that out of 35 marks, you at least get 24, 25 marks in that subject. And even if you get a little lesser in biochemistry, overall you pass. I know it's a very like a serious advice, but try doing it. I'm sure it'll help. So how to study physiology? So human physiology is something that you just have to imagine. Everything is imaginary about what goes on inside of a body. So I would suggest that you either draw mind maps for the subject or you study everything through a flow chart. If you want to know how to make mind maps, I've made a video on how to make mind maps, so make sure you check that video out. It's I'll mention it here and in the description box below, so check out that video. So what happens is, when you draw a mind map or when you draw flow charts, you break down each information. So it is natural that you will tend to remember it better, and the next time you have a glance at it, you know that this particular information belongs under this subheading. And about how to study biochemistry, the one and the most important tip that I would tell you guys is be very, very thorough with your cycles. The different type of cycles that you have. Draw the entire, take a huge sheet of paper, A3 recommended, or even take a chart paper and draw the entire cycle on that paper. And if you've not seen my video on how to top your BDS exams, just have a look at that video. I'll link it below, and I've kind of explained about how to extract the important questions of a particular chapter. So when you draw that cycle, just go through the questions and see what are the 5 marker and 2 markers that are being asked. and in that cycle, whichever point bears the 5 or 2 marker, next to that just write it as a 5 and 2 marker, so that the next time you look at it, you're going to have your 10 marker, 5 marker and 2 markers in one place. Now let's come to how to study dental anatomy. Now I have two main tips for you guys. The first one being, study this subject through diagrams. Even if it's the formation of your enamel, dentine, or whether it is about the morphology of a tooth structure, whatever it is, even if it's tooth abnormality, draw the tooth and then explain like few points over it. The second tip that I have for you is, pay close attention in your practical hours, that is while carving the tooth. So when you carve the tooth, you will automatically understand the morphology of the tooth, the measurement of the tooth, the crown, the root and all of that. So this way, any morphology, that is dental anatomy related question in your examination, you can easily answer them, and you can even answer all the viva voce related questions if you pay attention in your practical hours. Textbook of Anatomy by Vishram Singh, one of my favorite books. I've read both Chaurazia and Vishram Singh, and this one has to be my personal favorite and personal recommendation, simply because of the fact that they have very easy and understandable diagrams. Not only that, everything is given in point wise, which is the way I like to read, and that's the way I recommend to you all as well. Everything written and read in a point format is always retained better. Human Embryology, this one is by Inderbir Singh, again one of my favorite books. What I like about this book is the thing that, you know, there are very good diagrams in this, and all the content is given in a neat manner. Yes, you have to extract points out of this, but otherwise it's a very good book. Coming to Practical Manual of Histology by Neelkant Kote, again a very good book. Here what is good is that in the first part of the book you can see all the slides with identification points, and as you go into the chapters, detailed information is given. Other than that, the diagrams that you see here, one is the microscopic diagram and the other is the one that you have to draw. This not only helps to understand the diagram better, but at the same time will help you reproduce the diagram better in your examination paper. Coming to Physiology, A.K. Jain has to be one of the best books, simply because of the fact that they have the right information in it. A lot of other Indian authors and other books, they kind of miss out on the right values. This one offers the right ones, and also everything is in point format, and this content is more than enough to write for your exams. Coming to Biochemistry, the one and only book that anybody would suggest is by Satya Narayana. This book is good in its own ways. I kind of divided this book into 3 parts because it was bulky. Here you can see that all the information that you need is given under subheadings, good number of charts, good number of tabular forms, everything is given. Overall, this book is a huge hit, just that you have to extract points out of it. Coming to Dental Anatomy, the standard book is Wheeler's. This book is the best book, both for carving as well as for studying the morphology of the tooth. Do not buy any other book other than this, because this book is also required during your 4th year periodontics as well. This book, I would say, is very good, just that it has a lot of information and you are required to make notes, otherwise this book can be overwhelming to read. Coming to Histology, Orban's, again one of the standard and the best books available out there. This book, again, it's a little boring to read just because of the monochromatic form, and the diagrams are also not that well understood or not like very easily reproducible. But other than that, the content given in it is A1, and I would personally very strongly recommend to make notes only out of this textbook because it's the best. Coming to your question banks for anatomy and for your physiology and biochem, I only have one recommendation, and that is Singhi Yatiraj. I've spoken about these books in my previous video as well. Make sure to check that out. There are more recommendations in that video. I will link it here and in the description box below. But hands down, this was, is, and always will be my favorite. Now coming to DIDH, you will require only 3 items, first being your Macintosh sheet, second being a Lecron cover, and third being a wax block. The link for purchase of all these items are given in the description box below, so make sure you check that out. Coming to PCP, you will need 2 spatulas, curved spatula for alginate mixing, straight spatula for plaster mixing. A plaster knife is something that is used for the finishing of the gypsum products. Coming to your impression trays, the ones with holes, they are used for alginate. Coming to dental materials, first you will need a glass slab for mixing of cements, a gauge spatula specially used for the mixing of GIC, and Smearman spatula for the other cements. Anatomy, as I said, you will need a human skull and 2 vertebrae, and other than that you will need an anatomical forceps, a blunt one, in order to hold the structure and explain during your discussions. H&E pencils are very important when it comes to histological slides. These break very quickly, so make sure that you have a good amount of backup for them. So that's it for today's video, guys. I really hope that you guys liked it, and this video was so difficult to record, I'm not even kidding, and I'm just so glad that I could pull this off. So if you like this video, then please do subscribe to this channel, please like the video, and please leave a comment down below, because these are the things that motivate me and it would mean a lot. This video is really difficult to film. So if you liked it, then please do let me know. Until next time, this is Divya signing off. Please stay at home, please stay safe. Bye.